So when I started as a trainer, the reason why I started is because I came from an injury. So I had an injury on my shoulder. I went through rehab, and I didn't want to get injured again, so I got into personal training, got into training people. I was getting some results with clients and wasn't getting results for other clients. So I knew there was something missing. What I was missing is nutrition. So I got certified in holistic lifestyle coach. I went to learn from a guy named Paul Check. If you guys want to look him up, he's a very intelligent guy. If you watch any of his seminars, he always takes his shirt off to teach his seminars. He's 50 years old. I'm not going to do that. No worries, right? Plus, it's a little cold out, so definitely not going to happen. Basically, why he does that is because he lives what he preaches. He lives his life. He eats healthy. He sleeps well. Pretty much everything I'm going to cover today, I learned from him. Obviously, I learned from other mentors, but he's the guy that started it all for me. And I feel like the foundational things that I'm going to go over today, everyone can learn them and implement them, and they make the best results for you possible, right? So my background is I started as a trainer and then found out that training itself does not get people the results they're looking for. There's always something missing, and the missing component is always nutrition. And you're going to learn a couple more things that people are missing besides nutrition. All right? I want to open up with a question to you guys. If you needed to change a couple of things in your own life right now to get healthy, what do you need to change? And go.
Portion sizes.
Okay, portion sizes. Okay. So let's go just for food-wise. What do you think you need to do to get healthier? What's up? Eat healthy food. Avoid processed food. Cut out the sugar. More greens, no alcohol. Look at that. I was like, that's a sin. Don't say that in my house. That's it? More water? Oh, you guys saw it because I took a sip. Smart. Anything else? Okay. Learn to cook better, healthier foods. So you guys all know how to get healthy, how to eat healthy. So why don't you? Right? That's the big question. Everyone's like, what? I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying that it's very easy. Yep.
And along with that is, like some people say, dairy is good for you, dairy is bad, and then, you shouldn't eat meat, and then someone's, no, you have to eat meat, and it's like
Yeah. So misinformation and then learning how to manage your time properly. The main thing is learning how to do things step by step. So what I learned is how to do everything step by step. The best example I could give you is when you guys learn math. All right, you young ones, listen up because I know you guys are learning that right now. So the first thing when we learned math was what? The numbers. What does the number 1 mean? How it's written. Then we learned all the symbols, which was 1 through 9. Those are the fundamental numbers that we have to learn. Everybody knows them by heart now. Then we learn how to add them, subtract them, multiply them, divide them. And that was the first 5-6 years of our math in school. We could do all types of math with that. Then we started adding some X's, some Y's, some Z's. We got calculus out of it, geometry. But with those basics, foundational things, those first 9 numbers, we could do everything, right? So let's just be very clear on that because those are the foundational things that, with those 9 things, we could do everything. We could even do addition on my little board over there, right? So the math, once we learned, we just kept progressing. Every year we added something else to it. And that's how nutrition works. That's how any type of learning works, is you learn simple steps and you just keep adding to it. But the big bang numbers is those 9 numbers, and after that, you pretty much can do any math you need right now and every day. So if I say, what's 4 plus 4? You don't have to think about it. You already know what it is. It's 8, by the way, just in case. All right? I use the calculator at home to make sure. It just comes automatic to us. That's how nutrition and everything else that you guys are going to start viewing, hopefully, after this seminar, you will start looking at it that way too. You build up from small steps and you just keep progressing to it. So I didn't get to where I'm at by just diving into, I'm going to be the healthiest ever. It took me a while. It took me a couple of years, right? So wherever you're starting now, you keep progressing, learning those steps, and you're going to get to the next level. Just remember that the foundations, that's the best thing you could possibly learn, and you can do everything with it. I have one more question for you. What are the 6 things that we need in order to survive? I'm going to give you one. It's food. We need 5 more things that we need in order to survive. Water, that's 2. Breathing, that's 3. What's that? Sleep, 4. We don't need no clothes. You ever meet Adam and Eve? You know. Well, you need clothes here because, you know. Actually, this is what heat on, so we're good. So we got 4, right? Shelter, that's a necessity. We don't need that. Breathing, food, sleep, and hydration. We got 4. We need 2 more. All right, what do we do in this place? All right, movement, right? Not particularly exercise, but movement is very necessary for survival. If you can't move, you can't go hunt, you're dead. You can't go to ShopRite, you're dead, right? Unless you have somebody that's taking care of you. And we have 1 more. What are you all doing right now? Not resting. Sleeping, that's great. Thinking, right? You're thinking about what you need to do. So thought, most of you guys guessed it last, obviously, or haven't guessed it. Thought is the most important key. Once you make up your mind for anything, it starts with that. So if you make up your mind to learn a proper movement, you will learn how to do a proper movement. If you make up a mind to study the night before for your big test, you will do it. So everything starts with a thought. The thought travels instantly to every cell in our body, just like that, even faster than that. So the best example of that is if you go to the city in the morning at 5 a.m. and you see everybody commuting with their suitcases to work, you're going to see them all hunched over like, I hate this. Especially on a Monday morning. They're like dragging the suitcase on the ground. You can tell by the body language that that's a negative thought. They're thinking like, I hate this thing. People that are happy and smiling, they're like, wow, this person likes their job. What the hell do they do, right? So that's just the mental status of it. We have the thinking process. So we can approach that to anything we do. You can have a positive thought about what we're doing and a negative thought. So another example of positive thinking is you're driving and somebody cuts you off. What's our first reaction? Give them the nice Jersey salute, right? There's kids around, so I won't demonstrate. But you guys know what it is. It's not saluting them that way. Or you could think of it as, hey, thank you for letting me test out my brakes, right? Very unrealistic. If you slam on your brakes and you're like, thanks for testing them out. Some people might laugh. They're like, this sounds silly. I would never say that. But you change your mindset from going to extremely angry to just making yourself laugh. It's a very hard practice to do that. I practice it all the time, especially with deer running around and cutting me off. Right? You can't flick them off. They don't care about that, right? So you have to have you change your mindset. My brakes work fine when I slam it and I don't hit the deer, so that's always a plus. But a good exercise is you always want to work on this. You want to reset your brain. So anytime you do anything for about 90 days, there's a little challenge for you guys. It's a positive thinking challenge. Anytime you have a negative thought, substitute it with a positive opposite thought. So let's say you have the car thing. It happens instantly, right? So the first thing that happens is a negative thought in your brain. You're like, oh, what a New Jersey driver or Boston driver or learn how to drive, something like that. Something negative, you want to substitute with something positive right away. So the positive would be, thank you for testing out my brakes, or thank you for not letting me be in the rush wherever I was going. Or it's very difficult to come up with those positive opposite thoughts. So you want to have general thoughts. So my thing is, I'm always awesome, right? If something bad happens, I substitute with, I'm awesome and I'm ready to go. We were playing Pictionary or one of those, that they have, I'm terrible with American name games. let's say Pictionary, and it was something to do with like fitness and bodybuilding or whatever, and they're like, you are, and I'm like, I'm awesome. They're like, you got it wrong, thanks. So my partner wasn't too happy, but that came instantly because I reprogrammed my brain to think I'm awesome no matter what the situation is, all right? You guys don't think I'm awesome, I don't care, I'm awesome, all right? So you want to figure out what works for you. You could think, I'm happy. This is a great challenge, you guys. 90 days, it's very difficult to complete it. 90 days of consecutive positive thinking. What this does is it makes you aware of your thought process. You might think you're a positive, happy person until you start doing this challenge and you really start noticing like, oh my God, I'm not really control of my emotions or my thinking or whatever it is. And then when you start becoming master of your own thought, everything else becomes more possible. Cool? So thought is number one. Next, we have breathing. Breathing is kind of important. If you guys want to check this out, just do a little breathing experiment. Not here though, all right? Go outside, hopefully by the hospital, and stop breathing for like 3 minutes. See how that works out for you. So breathing is very, very important. So right now we're going to do a breathing exercise. Let's all stand up. This is a gym, so you know there's going to be some kind of exercises going on. If there's 3 people, hopefully face each other. If there's a couple of 3, then work in a 3-way. So just face them. That works. Make sure you guys have a partner. Renee, face. There you go, you made a new friend. Put the notepads down so that everyone can see yourselves. Kind of stand straight. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 breaths. You're going to watch each other's face, and you're going to watch each other's chest and abdomen. All right, don't make too much of friends, right? Don't stare. Look at the abdomen chest area. All right, face, abdomen, chest, 3 breaths. Go. Just regular breathing. Don't be hyperventilating. You might want to exchange numbers too if you don't know each other. Here, I have pen and paper. You have pen and paper. Good? All right, face me again. So what we're looking for is how they're breathing in, so through the nose or through the mouth. And we're looking what expands, whether it's the chest going up and down, or their stomach going in and out, whether the rib cage is going up and down. It's very important how we breathe. So I'm going to explain what we're looking for again, and before you guys correct your breathing, you're going to watch everybody breathe one more time. So what we're looking for is to breathe in through the nose breathing, and when we take a deep breath, we're going to have the stomach expand outward, and the rib cage expand out. Right? Many people, especially during exercise, we start shallow breathing and we breathe with our rib cage. What that does is puts us in the sympathetic nervous system aspect. Sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. So you're thinking of being chased by a tiger, right? All you're doing is exercising. Or when you get stressed, when somebody cuts you off, you get really tense, and that puts you in sympathetic fight or flight reflex. So a lot of us are in sympathetic nervous system, and we're always thinking fight or flight. We're always thinking I'm going to fight a tiger or catch a dinosaur, whatever it was, right? Back in the old days. This is our survival mechanism. This is our adrenaline pumping all the time. We don't want that. So let's face each other one more time and see how we're breathing. The goal is to breathe in through the diaphragm, through the stomach. Okay? 3 breaths. Regular breathing. It's not deep breathing, just regular breathing. If you notice their chest rise up, then you know they're breathing with their chest mostly instead of the diaphragm. Right? So the rib cage should not be rising up and down. Good? All right, let's sit down. So, who found this fairly easy to breathe through the diaphragm? If you found it difficult to breathe through the diaphragm, that's something to work on, right? People that are singers or play an instrument, they're very good at using the diaphragm because you have to do it. Otherwise, you get out of breath really, really fast. For all of you that exercise, you want to start using your diaphragm to breathe, whether you're running, whether you're doing straining CrossFit stuff. Whatever you're doing, you want to make sure you're breathing properly, right? Because anytime we're doing something correctly, we're breathing like this, we're straining muscles that we shouldn't be straining. So our traps get tight. A lot of people sit at the desk all day, and then they're breathing correctly like this, and then when they get here, they're like, I'm extremely sore on my traps, what do I do? Right? I'm not a magician, I can only do so much, so it's everything we do in our daily lives that add up. So you guys are going to find out real quick that it's not just about nutrition, it's about all those 6 fundamentals that we went over before. It all starts with thinking. So now, we have another exercise that you could do at home. You can lay down on the floor or in the bed, you put a water bottle on your stomach, and just watch it go up and down. It's very relaxing. You can go to sleep, make sure the water bottle is closed. Don't do it with a glass of water. So that's a great way to practice your breathing technique. Whether you're breathing properly or not, there's a lot more that goes into the whole breathing aspect. This is just a little bit of information about it. All right? Very important how we breathe. So sympathetic nervous system is what? Fight or flight. Then there's the opposite, which is parasympathetic nervous system. This is when we relaxed. This is when, right now, you guys are sitting there, hopefully not stressed out, when you're digesting and when you're sleeping. This is the calm, this is think yoga, relaxation. Sympathetic system is when you're fighting a tiger, because that happens to us very often. But because many people are stressed out, whether driving, or we're so much in the sympathetic nervous system that we're so tense all the time, and so many people are too tense, right? We always think that we're fighting a tiger. You guys hear about the whole a lady saving her kids from a car being trapped under the car. She was able to lift it. That's the whole fight or flight, right? That's the adrenaline pump. We don't want to have the adrenaline pump all the time. It raises our cortisol levels. It raises our stress levels. And when our hormones are off, it throws everything else off. And that starts with just simple as breathing properly. Cool? So everyone should be kind of sitting up there. We have water in the back. If you guys want, help yourselves. Now everybody's taking a sip of water now. All right? So if you feel the thirst aspect, you're already too thirsty. You're already too dehydrated. Our body is made up of 70% water. Our brain is made up of 75% water. What does that mean to you? Think watermelon, right? Watermelon is, I believe, 82% water. So our brain is just as gushy as that, just as juicy with water as that. So the first thing you do when you're stranded on the desert is you start having hallucinations, because your brain goes, it needs water. Not that many of you have been in a hallucination, but maybe you've seen a movie, right? And the first thing you see is a mirage, or an oasis, or a Coke machine with fresh water in it, right? Our brain is telling us, hey, I need water. You need to feed me this water, otherwise I will die. Okay? You need to start interpreting these signs from our body. So, if we're dehydrated, we could get wrong signals from our body and our brain. So we're dehydrated and we're like, I'm hungry. But it could be that you're thirsty. So a good rule of thumb to follow to stay hydrated a little bit more is drink half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you're 200 pounds, you have to consume 100 ounces of water a day. And that's regular day. That's not whether you're working out. That's not on a hot day in the summer. Just regular day, you want to consume around 100 ounces of water. There's a lot of different variations of water, tap water, all that stuff. Again, all these fields, all these foundational things, we could get into it really deep, but right now I'm giving you a little guide, general guide about it. So a good thing to drink besides water, you can do fresh squeezed juices, you can drink raw milk. I'm a big proponent of that. If you guys don't know what that is, you could ask later, make a note. Coconut water, pretty much anything fresh and good to go. The stuff that I didn't mention is probably not a good alternative to drink. Because if I start mentioning what you shouldn't drink, we're going to be here a while. Alright? So, being hydrated is very, very important. It's way more important than us eating food. right? Because you can go for about 4 to 5 days without eating, but you could only go 1 to 2 days without being dehydrated. If you lose 2% of your body weight in water, you start hallucinating, your body starts breaking down, and then if you go to 3, you get into danger zone, you have to be in the hospital, get IV and all that stuff. So be very careful with hydrating properly. A lot of us are walking around dehydrated as is right now. So a good way to figure out whether you're dehydrated or not is do that formula. Half the body weight in ounces of water, and then measure it out for that day. See what you need to consume and see whether you're actually drinking it or not. This is 64 ounces for me, and I had another couple of drinks here and there with my orange juices and my raw milk, and I filled up for the day. All right, guys, measure it out. It's the easiest way to track it. What do we got next? Oh, food. You're like, finally, nutrition seminar talking about food. Need another second. So let's start at the beginning. The earth was formed. No, not that early. We all started as a cell, right? Somehow, miraculously, mommy and daddy meet, and all of a sudden there's a cell, and it starts multiplying, and 9 months later, or 10 months later, there's you, right? Think about it. We're all made up of cells. So we have skin cells, we have organ cells, we have liver cells, we have kidney cells. Everything we have cells for. So anytime we eat anything, we're going to replenish these cells. These cells die out all the time. You guys know what dust is? Dust particles? That's skin cells, right? So we're replenishing our skin every 7 days or so. And in the summer when we get sunburned, a lot more faster than that. But we replenish all the cells in our body. Liver takes about a week to 2 weeks. All the other organs take about a month. Some organs take as long as a year. But we're always replenishing. Their cells dying out and their cells being reborn. So everything you eat literally becomes you. So you know that saying, you are what you eat? That is so true. You will not eat a donut and have it pop up on your stomach here. That would be too simple, right? It takes a little bit of time and it keeps accumulating over time, every time. Because you missed it. Time, right? So everything we eat, it piles up to us and it reborn into our cells, the ones we have now. So the best way to think about it is we don't get more fat cells. It's very difficult for us to get more fat cells. What the fat cells do is they actually expand out. So when you lose and gain weight, it's those fat cells getting more toxic into it. So when we eat the donut, it goes right into the fat cells and gets stored because we can't really utilize it. So here's the big debate. A lot of people do the whole calories in versus calories out thing. I'm going to put a little end to that. I'm going to give you a little example about calories in versus calories out. So instead of doing calories in versus calories out, I'm going to do calories versus nutrients. So we have that donut that I keep mentioning. So yummy, right? Dunkin' Donuts. Nobody wants to go there right now? You guys can see that? No? Alright, so we have the donut in my hand. I have an apple in this hand. They're both equivalent of 90 calories. So it's a big apple and a fairly small donut. Which one has more nutritional content? The apple. Why is that? It has vitamins, it has minerals, it has coenzymes, enzymes, it has undigestible fiber, all that good stuff. What does the donut have in it? Alright, so it has 0 nutritional value. Not only does it have 0 nutritional value in it, but it also takes away nutritional value from you because you have to produce your own enzymes and coenzymes to break that thing down. So not only are you at 0 with nutritional value, it's taken away. So you're in the negative with it, right? So let's say you eat the apple and the donut. You eat the apple to rejuvenate your cells that are breaking down. Instead of doing that, you're using those vitamins and those minerals and those coenzymes to break down the donut. All right? So if you think about the cellular level, you always want to think about what's going to benefit me now versus what is it that my brain wants, right? We have cravings. Why do we have cravings? Some of it could be because you're dehydrated, right? If you're not hydrated properly, you can't figure out what your body's telling you. So you want to make sure that you're hydrated well, and then So if you have a craving, the best thing to do is take 8 ounces of water. If you're still hungry after that, then you can eat. That means your body's actually hungry. If you're looking at food and you see a great donut, especially if you're hungry as hell, you're gonna be like, oh, that looks good, I'm gonna eat it. Then you might feel guilty afterwards, or you feel like crap because it was not the best food possible for you. So you wanna make sure that you look at food at the cellular level and be like, hey, is this gonna benefit me? Do I want this to be a part of me today or tomorrow, or a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now? So that's the hard part to do, figure out with food, is that we don't see it instantly. Like as I mentioned before, if we eat the donut and it becomes like straight up on our neck right here, just sits there, nobody's gonna eat the donuts anymore. But it happens cumulative over years. And because it adds up so slowly, we don't really see the consequences of it. But if we start looking at it, nutrients versus calories, and at the cellular level of it, that hey, this is gonna become a part of me, maybe in a week or 2 weeks from now, and this makes the whole me squishy, or whatever the terminology that you guys use, like I want to be like this, tighter, right? That's the whole part of it, is what we put in our body. So I'm not hating on donuts per se, but I'm saying those type of foods, as you mentioned before, cut out junk food, eat healthier, that's where you want to be. Another thing that you want to focus on big time, as I mentioned this before, is you want to be aware of what your body's telling you. Right? So I mentioned before, you want to be aware of your mind, what it's telling you. Right? Because our thinking is very, very important. Then, if we're dehydrated, we want to take those signs and see what that's telling us. Next thing is, we want to be aware of what our body's telling us. So if we eat a food, we might have an allergy to certain foods we are not aware of. And we don't know that, because we don't know how to interpret it. So some people might start sneezing. Some people might have extreme allergic reaction and go to the hospital because their throat closes up. But those are extremely extreme cases, right? We have minor things all the time. So you have a headache. That is your body ways of telling you, hey, I might not like this food. So if you're lactose intolerant, but you're not aware of that, and you have some milk, or you have a product that has milk in it, you might have a headache, or you might have an upset stomach, or you might have a shoulder that's hurting just from having a bad type of food. So all the signs that we get from our body telling us something. We just have to learn how to read that. So a great example of this is, we were drinking yesterday. I'm not going to make eye contact with this side of the room. Right? And we have a hangover today. So is that our body telling us, hey, I need to take 6 Tylenols because that's what I need to do? No, that's your body saying you're dehydrated and you need to hydrate that. Right? So the headache from that is, I put a little bit of poison in my body had to detox it, now I'm extremely dehydrated. So you want to hydrate back, and what you know, when you're taking Tylenol and aspirin, you have to take it with water. Most likely, unless you do the whole, just never get sober and you never get a hangover thing, right? That always works too. So, you guys want to start interpreting the signals that your body sends you the right way, and you're going to become your own doctor. You're going to become your own therapist. You're going to become your own nutritionist, because you'll get to figure out what you're doing. And I've done it a lot. I found out that I'm allergic to mangoes. I thought I was allergic to anything because I'm Russian. Apparently we don't get allergic to stuff. But I would eat a mango on Thursday, and then on Saturday I would do an extremely intensive workout. If you guys are familiar with Fran, I would do that for every Friday, and then Saturday I would wake up with a sore throat. So I thought it was a sore throat because I was getting sick. But I repeated it 3 weeks in a row because I'm very intelligent, obviously. And it was the same result every time. Because Sunday I would wake up with nothing. I was totally fine. Mango is part of the poison oak family. So if you have slight allergic to poison ivy or poison oak, then you might have a slight allergy to mangoes. Again, it's a very small allergy. It's not going to be like when poison ivy touches you, it spreads all over. And it's from internal. And the best thing about mango, the pores that are in mango, they could stay in your stomach for about 2 weeks. So you won't see those signs until 2 weeks later. So with food poisoning, it's a great way to know, hey, you ate something bad because you're on the toilet and in the bathroom, and within hours, sometimes minutes, right? But with this, it takes a little while. So the tracing process takes a little while. You have to do a little bit of detective work. It also helps if you're working with someone that's been there and done that, right? I have an 8-week course that I'm going to be launching in April that we're going to be going over everything step by step that you guys know how to do and what to track, what to take out, what to put in. A lot of people are allergic to grains. You might not be aware of that, but you might be allergic to grains because it's hard to digest it for us. As human beings, we're not really meant to be digesting it. So I mentioned that it took me step by step to get to where I'm at now. About 3 years ago, I cut out grains. Before that, I was doing everything great. I learned the whole holistic living. I started eating healthy food, which means everything organic, except for I was still eating grains. There were still organic grains, but I was still eating grains. And then all of a sudden, I was like, well, let me test this out. I'm going to cut out grains. So the way I thought I was going to cut out the grains is by making an addition to my diet. So what I did, I wrote stuff down. I'm like, wow, I'm not eating enough fruit. I'm not eating enough vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this stuff to my diet. And then what has to go? I'm not going to get rid of meat. I love meat. So I have to get rid of grains. Right? So what I did is I cut it down to, at one point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have cold turkey. I'm just not going to have it. That didn't work so well. Right? You have to have some kind of leeway for yourself. It's a lifestyle you're creating. So you want to have leeway. So then I changed it to once a week. I could have a grain, which is really doable. For me, it was, for that time. Small steps. And then after a while, I was like doing it once a month. After that, maybe once every 3 months. And then now I do it once in a blue moon. And it's because it's a lifestyle. I create a lifestyle. I don't do diets. I don't do dieting. Because you want to still be able to enjoy yourself. So if you want to go out and drink once in a while, as long as it's not hindering your goals that you're shooting for, that's fine. You could always make healthier choices. So what I do is always substitutions. I don't say, hey, don't eat pizza. Right now I was like, pizza. Right? And that's your thinking right there. I just brainwashed you to going out and having some pizza. So, substitutions. You can make your own healthier pizza than going out and getting a Pizza Hut. You can, chocolate, right, ladies? Some gents? Chocolate is always great. So you want to find a better, healthier chocolate. So dark chocolate, right? Next level up is dark organic chocolate. There's always ways to upgrade from where you're at. So if you're eating junk food right now, cut that down and eat some fresh vegetables and fruit and a little bit of home-cooked meals and just keep progressing from that, right? Small baby steps get to the next level. I love ice cream. I love it so much that I used to make my own until I found a different substitute for it. And I get a healthier option, right? I don't limit myself for anything. I'm still able to eat everything. It's just certain things I limit myself a little bit more than others. I used to like cookies and brownies, and now you can find recipes of all the good stuff and make it yourself. So it's a little bit more troublesome to make a pizza. It takes about 4 hours. There's going to be flour all over the place. And was it really worth it? After 4 hours of slaving over the hot stove, literally hot stove, you have a pizza that might not look so good, and it's still experimental, so you might not know how it tastes. So was it worth it? Right? So it's give and take, substitute stuff, and always add stuff to your diet. Don't take stuff away. Right? Little tricks that really, really help. What else? I think that's it for the food. Any questions right now for anything I talked about? I do, good question. You get a star. I do Haagen-Dazs. The basic 5 flavors, all it has is 5 ingredients. So it's cream, egg yolk, sugar, whatever the flavor is, and there's one more, I believe, skim milk. So cream, skim milk, egg yolk, and all the other stuff. Yep, it's not organic per se, but it's 5 ingredients. So instead of reading a label of like caramel, latte, whatever, s'mores thing, which is like you read the label and it's like a whole book, it's 5 ingredients. You could also do the lighter version of it, which is Haagen-Dazs 5, I believe, right? In my other gym, everybody knows about the Haagen-Dazs. They're all about, I need to buy stock at Haagen-Dazs. Cool? Any other questions? Oh yeah, I didn't finish the story. I got off topic. So basically, I thought I was at 100% before I started getting off grains because I was doing everything organic. I was following the whole lifestyle, holistic style. It was awesome. I was getting better sleep. But then I cut out the grains and I started seeing crazy results. All my lifts went up by at least 100 pounds. 100 pounds, if you've been training for, at that point I was training for about 7 years, it's a lot. And I thought I was already at my peak, so I thought I was at 100%. So I went from 100% to a whole new 100%, which made my other 100% like 40%. Just by cutting out grains. And that happened instantly. I got better sleep, I had more energy, I had a lot more energy to work out with, and a lot more strength. And that was just from the nutritional standpoint. My training was always the same. Well, it always varies, but it stayed consistent. I didn't do anything new. I didn't take steroids. That works, by the way, but don't do it. Not that I know from experience, but if there's any magic pill out there, it would be steroids. Obviously, not the thing that I would suggest if you're going for help, right? So all I did was cut out grains, and there it is. I got results very, 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 very quick. So you guys want to play around with that? You could cut the grains out for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. It's very easy to do. You just find substitute. So substitute with the way I did, vegetables and fruit. Any other questions? So her question was, what about the gluten-free stuff? So not grain stuff, but it's gluten-free. Well, it's a loaded question for me because I have a certain way that I think about the whole gluten-free era thing. Basically, just if you're gonna do something, kind of go 100%. So if you get off and start eating just fruit and vegetables and meat, you're already gluten-free anyway. So if you're gonna eat, like you're substituting from like, let's say, Coke to Diet Coke, which one's worse for you? It's pretty much the same thing, right? It's whether you want to get hit in the face with a baseball bat or crowbar. It's gonna hurt either way, right? So the whole gluten-free thing, not so much. There's better substitutions. So if you're getting off grains instead of eating regular flours, you can do whole grains, right? And then you can start doing organic whole grains and then make transitions that way. You don't have to cut it all out right away. Instead of, eating regular pasta, go to brown rice or quinoa or whatever it is that's still a little bit next step up.
So you're saying move up a little bit and eventually cut out all grains. Mm-hmm. So no grains, no processed, no nothing, any way, shape, or form.
If it fits into your lifestyle.
Now, I wanted to add a little bit about the gluten-free fact that my wife and I have been gluten-free for over a year now. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, I haven't lost a ton of weight, but I can tell you this. In a personal experience, don't worry about the weight. Worry about how you feel and how it's going to affect your performance, not only in the gym, but I used to suffer from arthritis in my shoulders, and it was terrible. That has gone almost to a point that it's gone. And my joints, from your joints all the way to that day that you wake up in the morning and you feel that you're stagnantly awful and you don't know why. That's when you realize how weak. Let me put it this way: you don't realize how much wheat you're consuming right now until you cut it out. And don't be fooled by levels that's gluten-free. If you're gonna eat a cookie, you might as well eat gluten loaded because what they're doing right now is that they're serving you a cookie that's gluten-free. They're serving you a bunch of other chemicals and what you might call it, the sugars that replace potato starches. So, like he said, just go for a decent diet, which it'll be. You'll notice it'll be gluten-free instead of just replacing a cookie with a
That's why I said it's a loaded question because I have a whole different stance on that. So actually, I'll talk about supplements. What am I selling today, right? It's a free seminar. Supplements. I don't believe in supplements. You use food as your supplement. If you need to get supplements, you go to a very knowledgeable doctor and you'll work with him, and most likely it's going to be the best top of the line supplements there is. And those are going to be extremely expensive, not the stuff that you buy over the store that's like a bottle of this big for $10 and you don't really know what you're taking in. It's just stuff that not going to dilute. Great example of that is, let's say we have over here, we have one vase with the flower in it and another vase with the flower in it. From far away where Wendy is, because she picked to be sitting in the back row, they all look the same, right? It's a red rose, it's a red rose. One is natural, one is artificial. From far away, we can't tell. So our body's going to be like, hey, it's the same rose. But you get a little bit closer, this one you get to touch, this one you get to touch. This one you get to touch, you're like, wow, this is a live flower. This one needs to have water. This one smells good. The other one is just, it looks like a flower, but it's not. So if we take an example of vitamin E, right? Or vitamin D, vitamin C, whatever other vitamin we want. Let's do vitamin C because that comes in oranges. Everybody knows what an orange is. So if we take an orange, a vitamin C, and we consume it in an orange form, or an orange juice form, our body recognizes it, assimilates it right away, and it puts it into our cells, rejuvenates our cells instantly. The other one, the one that was produced in the lab, vitamin C, it comes in a pill form. First, it has to get digested. That's a very hardcore process. So a lot of those tablets, first they don't get digested by our stomach. So if it's not getting digested, that means it's over. That means you put it in one hole, it comes out the other hole. That's pretty much it, right? So you're throwing your money into the toilet. Whether it's 10 cents, whether it's 1 cent, it's still, not only that, but it's doing damage to the inside because you're not digesting it. So the whole thing is going to be coming out of you, never get digested. Not only that, you're not going to absorb it into your body, so you can't utilize it. Now, also, because it's a fake flower, even if you do utilize it, your body won't recognize it because it's fake, right? So there's a lot of different stuff that goes into the supplements that you might not be aware of. Also, supplements work together. So calcium needs phosphorus, or potassium, not phosphorus, right? Magnesium, all those minerals, they work together. So if you're just taking calcium tablets because you're low on calcium, that's not the issue. The issue is, why is the calcium not being absorbed? So there's a lot of different levels of what's missing. There's always a bigger picture. It's not as clear as black and white where you get a cut and put a Band-Aid on. You can't do that here, right? You have to figure out what the issue is. Once you have the issue, find out what caused that issue, and then start from work your way up. So the whole calcium thing, I know a lot of women, the older you get put on the calcium tablets because the calcium is not being absorbed. That's not really the issue. The issue is maybe you don't have enough magnesium and you don't have enough phosphate to help it out, right? So all those supplements, they work together. All those vitamins, all those minerals, they work together. So you can't just take vitamin C, you need to have vitamin D with it, or vitamin A to help it out, or you need to have good quality fat with it for the vitamin C to actually get absorbed. So I'm sure you've heard of fat-soluble vitamins, right? So the whole supplement thing, if you start eating better, you're going to start feeling better right away. So you don't have to start taking supplements, especially the ones that you don't know whether in liquid form, whether they get absorbed into your body. And some of it you could actually overdose on, right? And because supplements are not really regulated by anyone, you can overdose on those supplements, especially if you start self-medicating.
So vitamins like one a day, like that?
One a day. That's a good catchy name. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of supplements in general. If I'm going to work with someone, I'm going to work with a very knowledgeable holistic doctor with supplements. They will have the highest grade possible, and they're going to be extremely expensive. Like one a day, what are you paying? Maybe $30 for the bottle, if that, right? So what does it actually do? Nothing. It puts money in the pocket of the people that produced it. But what does it actually benefit you in any way? I bet you'll benefit a lot more if you had fruit and an extra fruit and an extra vegetable just from that, right? So we get to the pre-workouts and protein powders. That is even worse than regular supplements. I'll go into it, but I'll make it really quick. Basically, protein powders. You guys know that we get pasteurized milk here, right? Except for I get raw milk because I'm awesome. Right? So we get pasteurized milk. What that happens is you boil the milk, and then after that you have stuff left over. The stuff that's left over is called the whey protein. Right? So they used to throw that out. And then people started drinking a lot more pasteurized milk, and they're like, well, we have so much stuff to throw out, let's do something with it. So they started feeding it to cattle, to pigs, to all the stuff that we eat now. And then after a while, they're like, well, we found a cheaper way to fatten up our cows and pigs. So they found, oils and newspapers and whatever else they're feeding to our cows now that are not grass-fed, besides grass, right? So they found cheaper ways to feed them, to fatten them up, and they got fatter even faster, so they could go to slaughterhouse faster. So they have now whey protein left over again. So they're like, what are we going to do with all this whey protein? And they're like, hey, idea. We can market the crap out of it to all these people. So they market it to all of you guys, and they market it really well, brainwash the crap out of you. They've been marketing for 15 years or so, right? When bodybuilding first started out, there was no protein. Arnold did not get big on protein. I can guarantee you that protein powders, right? Even admits to taking steroids, which I said are effective, but I won't suggest it to anyone, right? That's the miracle drug out there. So there's no miracle supplements that are promising the super antioxidant ones. There's no miracle whey protein powders. There's no miracle testosterone boosters. The only thing that works out there is steroids and HGH. But that stuff will mess you up big time, right? But it's effective. If you want to get muscle or lose fat, it will work. What it'll do to the insides, that's a whole other chapter, right? So, what they did is they marketed the crap out of whey protein powder to you, and remember what it was. It was a byproduct of pasteurized milk. So it was literally a throwaway. It was garbage. But because of the great marketing they had, there you have it. So if you go to GNC and you talk to somebody, a sales rep, to tell you about protein powder, they'll be like, you might have to go 3 or 4 to see which one you agree with. That means which one you won't have diarrhea from, right? Diarrhea is a huge way to know that, hey, something is wrong with your body. Remember I said upset stomach, right? Upset stomach is a little bit of gurgling, a little bit of this, you don't feel uneasy. As soon as you have diarrhea or screaming upset stomach, that means your body wants to expel it out as fast as possible. That's your body's way of saying, hey, don't put this crap in me. All right? So, pre-workout stuff, I use food. Post-workout stuff, I use food. A great post-workout thing is eat a fruit. Because your glycogen levels are down, you eat a quick fruit, you're ready to go. By the time you get home, you can eat your regular meal. All right, pre-workout, orange juice is always great, fresh squeezed, and just go from there. You can always experiment with whatever works for you, but experiment with food versus with this different supplements. Does that help out a little bit?
I agree.
Yeah.
What about the gelatin protein?
Yeah, there's a gelatin protein that I use. It's pretty much straight up amino acids. That's a little bit extremely high grade. It's not protein powder, it's straight up from gelatin. So if you when you eat a protein, it breaks down into amino acids. So when you get gelatin, it's straight up amino acids, it just gets absorbed and it gets utilized right away. It's still not the best as if getting it from a bone broth or straight up gelatin from the stuff that you cook. Like let's say you cook up a chicken and it turns into like the chicken broth, really thick, right? That's the good quality stuff. So in case you don't have time to make that, you could have that as a little supplement. That's the only supplement that I really use for myself, and sometimes I recommend it. So, but other than that, Cindy knows because she was at the other location that I was at before, so she knows a little bit of what I do. She knows about the Haagen-Dazs.
Okay, and it's your
Yeah. Cool? Any other questions? It depends. So it depends on you, right? So you could, if you're lactose intolerant, obviously that's a bad idea. Most people are allergic to the pasteurized milks and homogenized milks because what it does is it strips everything. So pasteurization means kill all the enzymes in the milk. So anything good that's in the milk, we're going to kill it. But they also kill the stuff that's good in the milk and bad in the milk, right? So that's why they do it. What I do is I get raw milk, and what it has good bacteria and bad bacteria. Lactose intolerant means that you're intolerant to the lactose part, and there's good enzymes in my raw milk that has lactase, which breaks down lactose, right? We have enzymes that actually break down lactose, and that's it. You don't have to be lactose intolerant anymore. So a lot of people who are allergic to regular milk or lactose intolerant to regular milk, they could eat raw products. So the thing, if you want to experiment with that, you could always get raw cheeses. They'll have them in Whole Foods, they'll have them at Trader Joe's. You could go to a local farm and see what it is. Because they actually have it, it's basically, they play around with the laws, and the cheese gets fermented, so it's not considered as a raw cheese. It'll still say on it, unpasteurized milk was used, and raw cheese, but it's not considered as raw milk, right? Because raw milk has all the bacteria. So you can play around with it and see what you want, whether that works for you, or just cut it out completely and then never have ice cream in your life. Right? Yeah. Well, you can't get raw goat milk here. You could get raw goat cheese, but basically goat milk is the closest imitated to breast milk, to human milk. So that's probably the best option, but it is so foul smelling. I don't know how people drink it. If I drink it, it's like a couple ounces, 4 ounces. But when I drink my milk, I drink like half a gallon of milk. Yeah, Pennsylvania. They also have a website that delivers it as well. But the easiest thing is, if you want to experiment with it, you could always go to a local Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, and just read a couple of labels. You could even ask the person that works there, and they'll tell you which ones are raw, and you can taste them. They taste amazing, and you won't know until that it's raw until you actually look at the label.
I'm from Dominican Republic, back there we get the milk raw, and they put
Boiling, you bring it to a boil, and then I guess they shut her up, right? Right. So you kill off, let's say 80% pasteurization. They boil the crap out of it, and they bring it a lot higher than the boiling point, and they kill everything. That's the only way they know it's pasteurized, is they kill off everything possible. So I come from Ukraine, and I had the milk straight up from the cow's tit, right? As soon as I went with my grandma, they milked it into the bucket, dipped the glass in, and I drank it. It's still warm, right? That's straight up raw. Right now I'm getting raw as well, but it's not straight from the cow. I get it a little bit colder later. So we didn't like to boil stuff because that kills a lot of nutrients in it. So same thing is if you get it straight from the warm, I'm sure you had it, right? Straight from the cow without boiling it, right? He's still alive. I'm still alive. I've been doing the raw milk for 3 or 4 years now, right? So it's not really the raw milk that's bad for us. It's just the laws that we have here. So if you go to PA, you're good. If you go to California, it's legal. Eventually, hopefully, they're going to pass it in New Jersey.
Yeah, but that also has a lot to do with the cows that are utilized, like the farms that are organic farms.
Yeah, this is only from organic farms.
Yeah.
No other farms will do that.
Chemicals in the cow.
Yeah. So pasteurization is good because they kind of get to kill off most of the crap that's in the milk already from the regular cows. But again, many people are starting to get allergic to it.
With soy, I've heard good things about soy milk or soy in general, and they also
Soy. So there's a lot of different substitutions for milk. Basically, soy, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's not the best thing for you. What it does is it imitates estrogen for you, and that's why a lot of males right now are growing breasts, and a lot of females are having huge issues with their menstrual cycle and everything. Hormones are thrown off just because they're taking soy. And again, it's marketing. Where did soy come from? At first, it was nowhere to be found, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, soy is the new milk. It's the new health product. If there's something good out there, just think of the commercials right now. You turn on any TV, think of a commercial. Did they ever market any organic food? No, right? Because common sense says, hey, this grows, I can eat it, this is pretty good for me. Snickers, beer, whatever it is, whatever stuff that's unhealthy, they will market the crap out of it because they need to sell it. Right? Soy used to get marketed a lot, it still does. Right? Because now they engraved it, just like the whey protein. They market it first, and now it becomes this like, you wake up and your mom tells you, hey, soy is better than, at one point I was drinking it too. I'm so mad now that I find out what it does to you. I'm so mad that I fell into that trap because I didn't know about it until I started doing my own research. As Jeannie mentioned before, it's good to learn that what the information is. Any other questions? Almond milk, it depends on what type you get. So we could talk about like substitutions for regular milk for a while because there's coconut milk, there's almond milk, there's all the other stuff. It's very hard to substitute original, right? As I mentioned before, it's grape rose that you can smell, touch, or fake rose. It's hard to substitute the original. The original form is the raw form, right? Let's move on before we get into talking about any other stuff that I'm not very fond of. All right, we have to discuss what? Exercise. Sweet. So movement is very, very important, right? We have to eat, we have to hydrate, we have to sleep. Oh, we didn't go over sleep yet. We have to think properly, we have to breathe properly. Movement is very important. So why is movement important? Movement, I mean just walking, just moving around, right? Not sitting there. We're not meant to be sitting. And the reason why the obesity keeps increasing is because we're not moving as much. But it's not only because we're not moving at all, it's also because we're not walking, right? So it helps digestion. Anytime we're moving, we're helping our bowels to work together, right? We have just simple going for a walk, about 30 minutes after you eat, will help you digest the meal better. Right? Moving side to side always helps out. So anytime you walk, you're pretty much using your whole body to do that. I'm not going to power walk here for you. Right? So another movement is obviously exercise, as you guys kind of know it now. So if you guys are in my gym, we do Crossfit here. That uses fundamental movements of all functional movements. We got squatting, push-ups, all that stuff that we utilize in everyday life. We always squat. We always deadlift. We always do some kind of push-up, right? An ideal person to look at is a baby. They do everything properly. They'll pick up a object from the ground in a perfect squat position. They will deadlift stuff properly. They will do a push-up. They will do a proper plank. They do it effortlessly. That means we're all meant to be doing that. At one point, believe it or not, guys, you used to be a baby, all right? Some of you still act like one. Just kidding. But you are all meant to be moving that way. Everyone's meant to be in the perfect squat position. Not that this is the perfect one, but you're still able to make, and you always see them playing around with blocks and whatnot. It's not a hard movement. So some people are like, I can't squat, that's bad for your knees. I don't think so, right? You squat every time you go on the toilet. If it was bad for the knees, you wouldn't have a toilet. Movement is very, very vital, and it also depends what type of movement. And you know, exercise, I could talk about exercise forever. We don't have forever, because there's a lot of different things, right? We could always nitpick what's the best exercise. What's the way you need to move. The movement that I'm talking about now is so that you can help digest the food that you're eating. So you go out and hunt something, right? That's movement. You earned your food, right? You go out for a walk after you ate, that's movement. You, if you have goals to build muscle and lose a little bit of body fat, then you move a little bit more by doing a little bit strenuous activities such as CrossFit, right? So with exercise, I'm just going to go over that because there's a lot of stuff that, should I do this, should I do that? Last but not least is sleep. So we train hard, we think hard, we do everything during the day. The only time we get to recover and get all those results and our body gets to actually rejuvenate is when we sleep, when we recover, right? So 6 to 8 hours, ideally, which who actually ever gets that? You could do a lot of stuff to supplement your recovery. So you could do naps. You could just do rest. You could sit down for 5 minutes and just chill out and breathe. Work on breathing. Breathing is very, very relaxing. That's why I said do that breathing test in bed. You do that in bed, hopefully with the bottle closed and that's never been opened. You fall asleep, oh well. Right? You're welcome. Instead of thinking about a million things. So, when is breathing the most important? Everything works with a circadian rhythm, with the hormones, and we're actually, because we're 70% water, we actually work with the moon. You guys know that? It's pretty clever. We have to be in bed by 10. From 10 to 2, we recover our brain, right? This is when our brain gets the most rest. So if you have a test coming up, the best thing to do is to sleep before the test, so you can actually retain the information, versus cram it in all night, and then you wake up with 1 hour of sleep, and you're like, oh crap, I have a test, and I just forgot everything I was studying the night before that. Right? Everybody has their own study methods, but I'm talking about the proper way that your brain recovers. So between 10 to 12 is ideal 4 hours of sleep for us, for our brain to function properly, to recover 100%. If you guys go to sleep at 12 to 2, then it's only 2 hours that your brain is actually recovering. So then from 2 to 6, I'll go over that. From 2 to 6, that's the best time for our body to recover. Right? So our brain recovers first, then our body. So that's when we rejuvenate our muscles, that's when we grow or rebuild. That's when we use all the food that we eat during the day to rebuild our cells. And this is the most beneficial time for us to equal out our hormones and recover our body. So if you have a strenuous workout, sometimes you notice you might need 10 hours to recover and sleep. Because your body's like, hey, you need the rest. If you're sick, right, Keith? You're sleeping the whole time. Recovery is your body's way of telling you need rest. You getting sick? What did I just say? Recovery is I don't know what I said. Getting sick is your body's way of telling you need rest. Right? So a lot of people get into overtraining mode. Right? You have a lot of stuff going on, whether you're stressed at work, stressed at school, stressed with your kids, stressed with family, stressed with the open, right? The competition. That's mental stress. Then you have physical stress, such as actually training. So all of it is different type of stresses, and the only way to get better is to recover. So if we get too much stresses at once, we get sick, we fall ill, and the only thing you can do then is lay in bed and recover. That is your body's way. That's a huge cue for your body to tell you, hey, you need to slow down. So you never want to get to that point. So I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions how to do, if you can't get 6 to 8 hours, if you can't fall in between, go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 2. Not wake up at 2, but go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 6. Then what you could do is you could supplement. Naps are always great. 10 to 20 minute nap. If you can afford it, do it. Again, as I mentioned before, 5 minutes of just sitting down somewhere in the office, in your car, going for a nice walk once it's actually starting to get nicer, in the sunlight, and just working on your breathing while walking, very meditative. You could actually do straight up meditation. Yoga. This is a good one. Have some salt bath, light some candles, some bubble bath stuff, relax, right? All of this stuff relaxes you and makes you recover. Makes you recover, right? Right now, our bodies just go all the time. A great way, another way is to go camping. When you go camping, you have sunlight, that's when you wake up. and then it gets dark, and you pretty much go to sleep, right? Because there's only so much light you get from the fire or artificial light. Eventually, your body's being like, well, it's dark out, I want to go to sleep. There's a lot of different ways that you can figure out yourself. You can listen to music, right? So find ways to kind of relax and recover. It's very, very important. They did a study on what's worse, drinking and driving, which is like legal 0.08 or 0.09, or being sleep deprived. And the sleep deprivation performed worse on all the cognitive movements. So reflexes were all shot to crap. The bad thing about drinking is that most of the time they're drinking and driving and sleep deprived. So that's a double no, right? So you guys, sleep and recovery is a must. So everything you do during the day, all the damage you do to yourself, and believe me, we do enough damage, whether it's stress-related, work-related, kid-related, your kid gets sick, you're worried about them, all that stuff, it adds up to stress, and we want to make sure that we recover enough. Good? So, to make this a little bit better, Anton, can you hand out the sheets? I am launching an 8-week course that will go over everything and step by step, so you guys know when to start. Instead of guesswork, you get to do it step by step, and you get to track your progress and see where you're at. Before I go over that, Lori had a question. Yeah, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, because we're equivalent with the moon. So because we are 70% out of water, so it's everything to do with the tidal waves and whatnot. So the first 4 hours, well, from 10 to 2, is we recover mentally. Well, that doesn't help you recover so much mentally, right? So a lot of people get too jittery, they can't pay attention too much. It's really up to you. So if you can't fall asleep before 2, then it's something to work on, right? If people that work overnight shifts, they have a lot of health issues, right? Nurses, EMTs, any other graveyard shifts. You will notice that I had my brother, he was working for 3 or 4 years of overnight shift and gained a lot of weight. As soon as he got done with that, got a different job, and started doing night regular sleeping, he lost 30 pounds. With doing nothing, absolutely nothing. He's terrible at eating and exercising. He hasn't been to my gym once. So he's a good brother. But anyway, all he did was change his sleeping cycle, and it worked. So we have 6 basic things here, right? We have the thought, we have the breathing, we have the hydration, we have the sleep, the exercise, and the food. If we change one of each, and each one helps us lose 1 or 2 pounds, that's huge, right? And then the nutrition is we can change a lot of stuff into it, right? So if imagine you being slightly overweight and you lose 30 pounds by just having a day job versus working a graveyard shift. I'm not saying go ahead and find a new job. I'm just saying there's a lot of different things that we need to implement besides nutrition, besides exercise, besides movement, right? So let's go over this chart real quick. We will learn step by step, how to eat properly, how to use food as supplementation, as I mentioned before. You get to learn, everything is done through education. You get to learn what a carb is, a protein and a fat, and what are good carbs, bad carbs. Every move you make, you guys can read that, right? The main thing is you get to learn how to listen and interpret what your body's telling you. That's huge. That is the main thing that I learned about myself that really helps out. So you get to learn how your body reacts to certain foods, and you get to figure out what you need to do to fix it. It might take a month, it might take 2 months to do that with certain things, but eventually you'll learn how to do it. Yeah, you don't have to count calories anymore. You're welcome, right? You just have to learn how to supplement certain foods. You get to learn how everything works, the portion control. As Cindy said, you get to learn how everything works in that way. And you get a private lifestyle food guide private Facebook group. Body measurements every 2 weeks. This is done with body fat calipers that I have, and now I have an ultrasound machine that does body fat testing. This is high-tech stuff, all right? It's pretty cool. It's fairly accurate. It's a lot more accurate than actual body fat calipers that pinch you and hurt you. So it's kind of cool. And we also do body circumference measurements, so the arm and the leg and the abs. So that way you get to see how many inches you're losing besides the weight scale. Because I don't like using the weight scale. I like using body fat, and I like to use inches. And how to eat when you're busy in the everyday life, and how to handle stress and improve your stress, right? It's $35 for 8 weeks. Well, every week for 8 weeks. You can, the first 2 people that sign up today, they get 10% off, and if you want to pay everything in full, you get 10% off. All right, guys, this starts April 5th, and again, this is a step-by-step course. This is the 4th or 5th time I'm doing this, and everyone that's been doing it had tremendous results with it. I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. This stuff really works. It is not difficult, because if I can do it, I hate cooking. If I can do it, anyone can do it. If you guys need to get a chef, you could get Willie. He's a great chef, right? Just pay him in food that he will give to me. That's our deal. But we had the last class I had. I don't know what happened, but they were just shedding inches and weight like crazy in the first 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks we have the measurements. Some people lost up to 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and I was like, holy crap, are you guys eating? And I've never heard them say before, but they were like, I'm eating more than I've ever eaten before in my life, and I'm losing weight, right? And I'm sure you see these and hear these infomercials all the time. They're like, oh, you'll get to eat the fudge cake and the pizza and still lose weight. Not so much. You have to make some changes, right? Because if you don't change, you don't change, right? Let's see if that makes sense to you. If you don't change what you do now, you will not see change, right? So, again, guys, this is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, you could ask now. For the first 2 people that want to sign up, fight for it. And I'm limiting this class to 12 people, because I want to make sure that everybody has some private attention for me, and go from there.
That's what I wanted to ask you. How much of a personal one-on-one or a personalized program you're going to develop for everyone?
Well, it's a group educational course, and then you get a support group. You get the Facebook group to support you. You have unlimited email support from me, and during the class you'll have at least 5 to 10 minutes. We're always going to be doing stuff in the group, so it's a group thing. So working out in the group is a lot better than working out on your own. I do have coaching, nutritional counseling, one-on-one, and I will be offering that to my clients soon as well. But this is a little bit better because it's in a group setting, and it's cheaper too. Any other questions? It's gonna be every Saturday. It's every Saturday, but then every other, that's when we take the measurements. So April 5th, do 8 weeks, and that's gonna be when we're done. So it's gonna be every Saturday after that, at 12.
Every Saturday?
Yep. Yes?
You recommend doing this and then also CrossFit?
I mean, exercise can only help, right? So basically, nutrition is always good because it's going to get you on point of eating better. Most of the people here already exercise and already do CrossFit. If you don't, then I definitely suggest doing some kind of exercise. Obviously, I'm going to suggest CrossFit because that's what I do. But you could do any other exercise as long as you add movement to it. And you'll see, once you start eating better, you're just going to have more energy. Like Lily mentioned before, you cut out gluten, a lot more energy. And another thing that I think you wanted to say was fogginess. Like when you wake up and you have a head fogginess, that's the worst thing possible. As soon as you cut out grains or gluten or whatever you're intolerant to, you got to wake up, you have a lot more clearer thoughts. I'm still not the best person in the morning, but I'm way better now than I was before.
We have a trip that's planned in the middle. What do we do if we miss?
Well, we'll keep you in the loop, and then when you guys come back, we'll see what we can figure out.
because I have a trip at the end.
Everyone's got trips. Come on, guys. Oh, that's right, Memorial Day.
You're gonna go at the end of
I'll
the
be
trip
here.
and get a last parade.
Yeah. So if you have trips, we could always, we'll figure it out. We have other time. Take care, guys. All right. So if you want to sign up, first 2 people get 10% off, and then that's it.